King Voss was an amiable fellow, despite his fierce appearance. His red mane of hair and sharp eyes gave the impression that he was a lion turned man, to the point there were mutterings and rumors about the source of his strength. Some said that he had always been a fierce warrior, so much so that the gods deemed it fit to bless him with strength befitting of his appearance. Others said that he killed a Nemerian lion and ate his heart, which nearly killed him, but granted him some of the beast's strength. Yet others said that, back in a time when he dove into dungeons with Ichthus and the rest of his adventurer team, he conquered a demon-infested dungeon and was blessed by the gods for his deed. Whatever the case might have been, the only truth of the matter was that within the kingdom, King Voss's combat potential was second only to that of Guildmaster Ichthus. Such was his might that there were some that suspected that he only claimed to have the strength of an A-rank adventurer to make the enemy underestimate him in battle, though there was no proof of this. After all, even amongst A-rank adventurers, he stood head and shoulders above his peers. He was a man loved, feared, and respected by his kingdom, a fierce man that defended his country like a lion would protect its cubs. Which is why most people would find the sight of the fierce man wearing fluffy white slippers and a nightcap baffling, or even funny. As the king felt no rush to get from the capital to the village of Nam, he had taken his time to set up camp as he liked, in the comfort of his preferred nightwear. A handful of servants attended to his needs, fully used to seeing their king in such wear, but it was shocking to some of the members of his royal guard. Not that anyone dared laugh or tease the king. As surprising as his morning appearance was, wearing a silken nightrobe, slippers, and nightcap, he still carried himself with the aura of a king. As such, despite the off-putting contrast, no one had any doubt that if need be, the king could still single-handedly beat any single member of his royal guard within an inch of their life in a fair fight. It was a funny thing, being a king. Despite possessing overwhelming force, he was still just one man, one who was required to present himself with a certain level of status when amongst the general populace and other members of the peerage. Maintaining such an image was a tiring but necessary thing for royalty. Dressed in this nightwear, the king arose from his simple travel bed. His tent was spacious, though modestly decorated, consisting of a simple bed, a small chest of clothing, a wooden table, and a comfortable chair. Admittedly, this was considered luxurious for just about anyone else camping in the field, but for a king, this was a rather modest setup. "Archimedes! Archimedes!" the king called out loudly, and a second later a small man, perhaps no more than 160 centimeters in height, seemed to materialize out of nowhere. Though he was balding at the top of his head and had plump features, the man was dressed pristinely, with black trousers, a prim-looking red long-sleeved shirt, and a well-fitting brown overcoat. Even his thin, upwards curling mustache seemed to be meticulously cared for. Not for the first time, the king thought that the man looked a bit like an owl that had taken human form. "Yes, your majesty," he said as he stood at attention, ramrod straight and with his right hand firmly planted on his chest, while the other was at his side, completely straight. "There you are," the king said as he looked at the man with satisfaction. "Any news?" The short man shook his head. "None worthy of note, your majesty," Archimedes replied, bowing slightly. Not even from those turncoats?" the king asked. "No," Archimedes answered with a sigh. "However, the royal princesses are sparring with members of the royal guard just outside the camp area." "I see. Fetch me my travel clothes," the king said as he started to disrobe in the privacy of his tent. His back was marked by large muscles that told the tale of a man trained from youth to wield weapons and shields in full plate armor. The man was a warrior through and through, and it showed.